So it looks like I'm at, if you can see here, 510 subscribers now on the wait. I majorly read that wrong. Excuse me. 5,110 subscribers now. Much more impressive sounding when you read it out like that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're at. And I did not make a video celebrating the fact that I made it to 5K. I think I had like a video a day for like a week as a lead up to it or some dumb bullshit like that. Hell, I might have actually released there was a time recently when I was releasing multiple videos a day. I might have done that in celebration for 5K after reaching 5K. I don't quite remember at this point because all of the days kind of blend together in such a hazy fashion at this point that I can't actually chronologically keep track of events. All of them just exist in this bizarre non-linear state. And so did I celebrate having 5K in some way? Did I celebrate the lead up to getting 5K in some way? Your guess is as good as mine, which actually points to something kind of important about this whole YouTube thing, which is aiding me in remembering things, especially in the wake of my ever-progressing cognitive decline. In the face of that, this YouTube channel is very important, but I am not updating it anywhere near as much as I should be if I want to actually accurately recollect the events of my life, which up to this point has basically been the function that this channel has served. It has helped me remember things as they happened, and that was part of why for the longest time I put so many videos out on this thing. I didn't generally engage in long hiatuses because I'd wake up and I'd be thinking about YouTube and I'd be thinking about my day and going through the motions and enjoying myself, and hey, the camera just turned out to be on throughout the day for a multitude of random, sometimes mundane, sometimes not type of things. And I really want to go back to that. I want to go back to that spirit. I want to be preaching and teaching and following those core fundamental values that I think made my channel and those like it special. Of course, there's a lot more like it nowadays because the YouTube algorithm has done this bizarre thing where they're pushing unmonetized channels with less than 1,000 subscribers to literally everyone's homepage, including my own, which is very strange. But the even stranger thing about that is that the topics generally revolve around the kind of topics that me and No Thank You talk about, the kind of topics that I still talk about, and the kind that he used to talk about way more. You know, being a need, or potentially this idea that society or aspects of it are a scam, that the economy is rigged, that dropping out these days appears preferable to the grind of modern life, general critiques of modern life from, you know, of varying flavors and types. You have some people just going full conservative and even further than that, primitivist, and you have others taking a more anti-capitalist approach, and then you have others just taking the full-on normie approach. It's crazy. It's crazy how many videos are showing up in my and other people's feeds now of just like these alienated, relatively normal-looking people who speak in an average way, but have their wits about them, like they clearly know something is up, they kind of know what they're talking about, but they're hitting on a lot of these same themes that, like, me and No Thank You have been hitting on for the past 5 fucking years. It's like, you just got around to this? You just figured out that this shit is a scam? You just figured out that this shit is rigged? Like, okay, welcome to the club. pointing out the most obvious shit ever, but it's good that they came around to it eventually, right? And that's really what I find interesting about this, because the kind of person that you see making these videos nowadays, I don't think is the kind of person that would have been thinking this stuff if they were the same age and had the same experiences back in, say, 2019 or 2018, when me and him were talking about this stuff. Like, these people have been turned on to this kind of radical way of looking at the world, or at least radical relative to, like, you know, the way that society's been talked about throughout our childhoods. People have been turned on to this kind of systemic critique in a way that I've never really seen before. Like, the kinds of people who are making these videos and talking about this kind of stuff are not the kind of people that I would expect to be doing this. Now, of course, you see some people in the algorithm where it's like, okay, yeah, you definitely would have been talking about this. I'm talking about, like, the hippie-looking type people, you know, or just the more, like, weird, freakish, conservative people. Like, yeah, they were going to be talking about stuff like this. There was no hope for those people. like they were a project waiting to be scrapped by someone. I'll just put it like that. But there's all these people, these other people making videos of this caliber, of this nature, that definitely don't look like they belong in this space. And that I find fascinating. Like, why exactly have they been turned on to the notion that society is a scam? It's probably due to stuff like inflation and housing costs and TikTok, like, showing you tons and tons and tons of short form videos that end up hitting on a lot of the same themes that are showing up in these YouTube videos. Like, unironically, I think that's what a lot of it is. I think a lot of it is TikTok. My mom was asking me if I wanted to go to the grocery store. Aren't I a cool, based, neat boy who lives with their parent? Do we got any mommy's boys in the YouTube comments today? Anybody still living with their mom? Shout out to you. You know, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up on this video. Like and subscribe. Leave an angry comment down below about me for not spending more time with my family, or leave a very happy comment about your own family, or leave a very sad one if you have a bad family. Just please give me more engagement so I can be another one of these random lo-fi channels that is being stroked by YouTube and the algorithm. Anyhow, yeah, I think it's primarily economic factors that are leading to these people making the kind of videos that they are today. But I also think it cannot be understated the impact that TikTok has here, because there are these trends that exist in the various subcultures of TikTok, where things like lo-fi, artwork, like sound, video, etc., are being utilized in pretty creative ways in some of these TikToks, especially by e-girls. And once you get e-girls on board, like, you're going to make a trend out of anything, because guys are frankly terrible and can be led around like sheep as long as there's a cute girl at the helm. But you have these trends where this kind of like lo-fi, I guess, cutesy stuff is being promoted on there, and where older video logs, like, for example, of those of Noriko or Hiki-chans, are being talked about on TikTok, or clips of them are resurfacing on TikTok, of course, in that disgusting phone aspect ratio that pervades the entire website. And, like, that's the thing there. And what's weird about this is that these trends have actually carried over to YouTube, where a lot of these TikTok girls or sometimes guys, who knows how long they're going to be guys, let's be real here, show up making their own YouTube video, and they link it on their TikTok, or they link it on their NeoCities page, or what have you. And they're making these old style, like 2008 vlogs in their webcam with their shitty mic and all, sometimes just into their phone, but generally it's like that. And these guys and gals are getting, thousands of views off this stuff. This stuff is inspiring people in the YouTube audience to then go on to make their own thing inspired by this new wave of other people. So you had this thing that started out on TikTok where like people were trying to revive the old YouTube style while showing off their like rooms and all that shit, journaling their mental health fucking journeys in a way that's similar to Noriko or Hiki-chan. And really all those older vlogs that got like a couple hundred views. They've started doing that on YouTube after the trend got popularized again on TikTok. And now you have people who aren't even like TikTok natives. They're not viewers of TikTok. They're just regular YouTube users getting inspired by this wave of people who were inspired to do this by old school YouTube stuff that had happened to be repurposed on TikTok. So it's like this weird, like, incestuous web of people being inspired by other people. And now, like, there's just all these videos that are showing up on my feed, like my notifications, my feed, everything lighting up with this kind of content. And I find it fascinating because I think it really is a hallmark of a change online, in youth culture, just everything, right? Like, everybody likes to say, this generation is the most progressive generation of any generation ever, right? It's like, yeah, and so was the generation directly preceding it, and then preceding that, and then preceding that. Every generation is the most progressive generation, because that's how time works. Like, history can only march forward. You can't exactly go backward. And so it makes sense that that would happen. But as things like mental health awareness and inclusivity of various like sexualities, genders, races, interests, etc., have increased in popularity, the acceptance of all those things, I think we've also seen various niches become accepted, and those niches have also been popularized and explored to a greater degree. Things like anime, things like the Denpa vlogging type stuff, like what you're seeing here, and so on. And ideas that were once considered taboo or socially unacceptable to discuss or believe in are being picked up by these very internet savvy, dare I say, internet native people who found them on TikTok, and now they're bringing these ideas to YouTube. Or they just thought this stuff up with themselves and their friends, and they don't have a fear of talking about it, because this is the kind of climate that we're living in now, where people are much less afraid of experimenting with these kind of thoughts, these kind of styles, this kind of experimentation. Overall, we're just living in a much more open kind of society and culture than we've ever seen before. And I think these Denpa vlogs are kind of a downstream effect of that broader culture, which I find super interesting. And I wonder what we're going to see within the next 5 years as a result of this like retro revival wave that we're having right now. It's like every generation has had specific trends that they like and that they buy into. But and as much as I hate this fucking term, and really any generational category, because it's all based on marketing, it's all fake. But hey, we're talking about marketing right here, so it's applicable. Gen Z, they are interested in nostalgia. Like, they're interested in Y2K and late 2000s memorabilia and early 2010s and this kind of stuff. Like nostalgia, hauntology, for those of you who have read Ghosts of My Life by Mark Fisher, all of this stuff, it is so, all of the media that they create and the media that's created for them oozes with nostalgia. It oozes with hauntology. And I think that's pretty different than like pretty much every generation preceding us, because there was always some like defining trend that people really got swept up by or wanted to market to those people, whereas like for us, we're just remixing and remastering stuff that came a little bit before us and trying to engage in commentary of various sorts on this kind of stuff, creating new things using old technology that's reminiscent but different. And that, yeah, I feel like that's pretty different than really all of the styles that you saw with the other generations. Like the millennials had their own shit they were into, Gen X and so on, their own hairstyles, their own clothes, their own specific genres in film and TV that were more popular at the time. But with Gen Z and Gen Alpha now, it's like nostalgia is the defining trend in our media. And I don't know how to feel about that necessarily, because I used to feel like I was the only one who cared about this stuff. I was watching early 2000s anime for the aesthetics, not necessarily for the substance or the stories. And people thought that I was ludicrous. They thought I was a retard for liking that kind of stuff. Now, it's the cool thing to like that kind of stuff. Those aesthetics are everywhere online. I don't know, man. It's a little strange.